Welcome to a football show Monday edition. That is Paul Kuharsky of paulkuharsky.com. I am Braden Gall. We are brought to you by Sinkers Beverages, award-winning liquor store in East Nashville, serving the community for over 4 decades. PK, good afternoon, sir. How are you?
I'm well. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I have no sleep, and I need more sleep. Took the kiddos to the Nashville SC match on Sunday night, got another big win, a hat trick from Hani Mukhtar, and I couldn't go to bed, man. Couldn't go to bed, so I need more sleep.
I got too much sleep. I really do. I nap on weekends. It's not the busiest time of year right now. I'm going to have a sleep study actually sometime.
Yeah, dude. Whatever you're doing, can you tell us so me and my wife can learn how to sleep more?
Well, you have younger kids. I mean, when he's 16 and he pops by every once in a while to say hello, it's a different deal.
Wakes up at 11:30 a.m. in the summertime.
We did go to. Now he gets up early because he does stuff, but because he's got to get in that truck and get out of the driveway.
That's as fast as I can get out of the house. You're saying, Retrodox, good to see you. Hard to find a path to get more than 7 wins, which he'll take. So schedule was released on Thursday evening. We will do a deep dive into schedule analysis and pick every game to some degree. We'll sort of look at over/under win totals and look at what the upside is for this. I think there's a lot of really good things. If you're a Titans fan looking for wins and positive news out of this schedule, I think it sets up pretty well. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. Doesn't mean they're going to win these games. But I do think there's a lot to look at from a nuanced standpoint in the schedule that says that could be beneficial for the Tennessee Titans. So we're going to do that. We have a new Tennessee Titans radio booth here with Ramon Foster getting the job, replacing the late, great Dave McGinnis. And, of course, we're going to talk about the Super Bowl vote, which could come as early as tomorrow or Wednesday at owners' meetings or at the NFL meetings this week. So we'll get into all that stuff today on the show. Make sure you check out Sinkers Beverages, please. You guys know the deal. You can search Uber Eats and have them deliver the booze directly to your house, which is always the safest way to go. They have an award-winning craft retail beer fridge. So if you like East Nashville Beer Works or Yazoo Brewing Company or Tennessee Brew Works, 3 great local breweries in this city, you can get all that delicious local craft beer at Sinkers Beverages. They have tons of new stuff, tons of mixers, tons of barware, huge wine selection, a great staff. They will take care of you, I promise. So swing by Sinkers Beverages. And if you had a chance, hopefully some of you have done this. We need more of you to do this. There is a survey. It's less than 5 minutes about independent local media and news. It is your opportunity to, in less than 5 minutes, anonymously kind of put your input into this conversation around local news. Hey, what sources do you use? Where do you think there's holes in coverage in Nashville and in Middle Tennessee? Press forward midtn.news. It's a national nonprofit that's working to try to help support local journalism. So if you could take 5 minutes, it's anonymous. It's linked in the show notes. It's press forward midtn.news. Please fill that out. We would really appreciate it. Okay. All right. Thank you, PK. It's very simple, right? Very easy. It's very fluid and quick. It's just asking you where you get your news, what subjects you care about, and how you consume stuff. And so we're just trying to learn as much as we can, you know? All right. Z Dean, good afternoon, fellas. Guessing OTAs are closed to the media this week.
The public, the open OTAs, we know for media purposes, we're not saying for public purposes. I can say, they're coming.
There you go.
I don't even know when the first one is.
We will let you all know as soon as we know. How about that? The guidelines and the rules and the restrictions and everything that we're talking about. We'll get to all of that stuff.
I think maybe, expect one a week when they crank up.
I think that sounds about right. Okay. Let's see here. Highest possible win total, 12 games. Well over and above any reasonable expectation. Florida's 3 wins, matching what they've already done. They probably end up somewhere between 6 to 8 wins. Yeah, Race Goal, you're giving them a really huge, wide berth of
somewhere from 3 to 12.
It's like every team in the NFL. Derek says it depends on Cam's shoulder. If he experiences a setback or injury, we could end up with a 4 to 5 win season. I really hope he and the organization are being honest about his shoulder. Any reason to think that they're not?
Why presume a setback? I don't really understand that. I mean, we've seen video of him throwing. It looks like he's throwing the ball hard and normally. Maybe they won't give him a big slate. They've got 3 other quarterbacks, and he can learn stuff without doing stuff. It's not, favorable, but maybe he'd throw 25% less. I don't know what he'll do through the next couple weeks in minicamp, but I have no reason to believe he's not where they say he is.
Look, I think the floor is also 0 wins and that the ceiling is 17 wins. I agree with you, Forrest. I think that's a good way to look at it. All right. So broadly here, we'll run through the schedule. First of all, did you like the schedule announcement effort by the Tennessee Titans?
Yeah. I mean, it's not as good as the initial one where they did it with the logos. And I thought the pharmaceutical one was pretty funny.
I liked it.
This is it's a good effort, but it ranked very highly, so people clearly liked it. But it is a different kind of humor. Like you can do that pretty easily. Is it like outright laugh out loud funny? No. But look, it ranked exceptionally highly at like second in most of what I saw behind the team that is hard to knock off the perch. So they came up with something clever again. I think probably it's time to get off a man on the street now.
I don't know. I asked Cavendish about this. I said, hey, you don't want to see them do a third one of these, right? And he was like, don't do it. He goes, I love the man on the street logo, So like maybe there's just a Broadway Tennessee thing that just works. So I don't know. I thought it was fine. I thought it was clever. I will say this. I think the Titans I don't know anybody else in any other production department inside an NFL team, but those folks over there for the Titans are very good. Just in general, whether it's running social media, whether it was the uniform release party and how they filmed it and cut it up and manipulated it and used it to spread it as far and wide as it could go. They've generally been very, very good at this stuff. So I give them a lot of credit for that department being good.
They do a lot of good stuff. And the guys who film their practice action are spectacularly talented.
Yeah.
They could have gone to you could take them back to the beginning of NFL films, the way they track the ball, set them to classic soundtracks and all of that. One thing that they do that kills me sometimes, and it's only 1 or 2 of them, they're very self-congratulatory. They love to tweet about how they did their job, and I'm not into that.
Says reporter who tweets about doing his job all the time.
Well, I mean, I advertise that my product is out. They're like, hey, all the new logos are downloaded. Like, woohoo, we did our job. Like when you change the logo, that's what your department does. Okay. Like you're over there throwing a party because you changed your logo out on all of your websites and stuff. Like if I was your boss, I'd be like, hey, that's what you're paid to do. Like, I don't need to see congratulatory tweets. If you want to have some cake in the back room amongst yourselves, go for it.
See, Dean, sniffing around 500 is best case scenario for this team. I'm hoping good coaching, will play a big factor this year. Ray School last year and the previous, their ceiling was at best 6 wins. They hit their floor 2 seasons in a row. This is the first time in 3 years. I would not be surprised if they got to 12 wins. I would be surprised if they got to 12 wins. Josh in Round says, I think I actually prefer the 12 p.m. Sunday kickoff times. Good for you because they're all there this year for a personal schedule, but at some point it just feels disrespectful to not get any primetime games in back-to-back seasons. All right, we'll start right there.
Do this thing now where people make it like,
well, let's,
at some point they've got to give it. What's been 2 whole years?
Well, here we go. I think there actually is a point where it does become disrespectful.
And we're not at that point.
And it is the home opener of the new stadium. If the home opener of the new stadium is not in a standalone window, whatever that may mean, Thursday night, Saturday night, or Monday night. Obviously, Saturday night, probably unlikely, but probably Thursday or Monday night, maybe even Sunday night. If the home opener of the brand new $2 and some change $billion stadium is not featured, then you can be disrespected.
Does it have to be the opener?
But not until then. I think it has to be. I think it should be the opener, but it has to be no later than the second game.
First 3 weeks, I'd say. First
okay.
month.
All right. Okay.
I don't know why it has to be the opener. I mean, I'd go back and look at. I'm sure SoFi was probably a opener, but was like Allegiant the first
The NFL is spending over $800 million, excuse me, on this stadium. They are invested. The Super Bowl's coming. They are invested. They need to promote it. So
I think they will promote it, but I don't know that it has to be the opener.
Shut up and eat cake in the back room.
I think you'd like to shut up and eat cake in the back room. They could eat it in the front room. It just doesn't need to be a public triumph.
Paul Kuharsky of ARC.
I don't
know
that cake. The first game, like especially, if they don't have a national preseason game, which I don't think they would have because you don't want to steal the thunder of the regular season game, then you want to make sure all the TV stuff runs right. I don't know.
Ray Skulls, am I reading this correctly? Ray Skull says no team since 2008 didn't have the stadium opener on primetime.
Well, if that's true, if that's their pattern, then yes. Yeah, but I didn't realize that was their pattern. Now we know Buffalo's got week 2 Thursday night. So
it's what you do. It's what you do. Okay, so here we go. The no primetime thing, I don't think is that big of a deal. I don't think it's a big disrespect to this organization. It is a bad football team in a small and new market. So it is what it is. Like, I just don't, that until they are 50, 60, 70 years old, it is what it is. So I just don't think we can, they're not winning, and they're small market, and they're a young fan base. That's just a bad recipe for trying to be more valuable to a broadcast network nationally and internationally now than the Dallas Cowboys or the Giants or the Niners or anybody, the Packers, the Steelers. Like, they all are big brands. So, but the NFL, I think, did a lot of favors here to the Titans. So let's start with home opener. You better win this one, Robert. Robert Saleh at home against his old team. There are 4 players on this team, of course, that were on that team just last year, and it promises, PK, to be a, quote, bloodbath in week number 1.
Lot of obviously Jets, Titans connections here, starting with Saleh, and then those players that came this direction. And look, the Jets are one of the worst teams in the league. If the Titans aren't going to be one of the worst teams in the league, it's really important that they get off to a good start against one of the worst teams in the league. Also, this first 4-pack, to jump ahead, we've got Jets here, Eagles here. Eagles, maybe going through some transition, some transformation and all of that. They got a new play call and everything, but they've got a lot of talent. They are a more talented team than the Titans. AJ Brown's probably out, and that'll be for draft picks and everything, and they won't get an immediate return on that. They're a more talented team, a year away from the Super Bowl, right? That'll be a hard game to win. Then they go to the Giants. That's another game they really have to win, with even more storylines because the coaching staff switch there. So Callahan's over there, Denard Wilson is over there. They know, the remaining talent on this side. And there are even more Giants who've come to this side than Jets. And Baltimore's going to be a tough game to win on the road, even though they're undergoing a lot of transition, right? That one's more uncertain to me, but they're traditionally good. Hard place to win, hard place to play. You got to come out of this 2-2, I'm thinking. Yep. And it's a scenario where if you lose to the Jets or to the Giants, then you need to get one back against the Eagles or Baltimore, and those are clearly tougher games. So, and you want to get to Houston and Indianapolis, your 2 division games, at 500.
If you are watching on YouTube, please thumbs up, notifications turned on. We're going to throw the schedule up there in the middle of the screen. So we're going to this way you can kind of follow along. Here's one thing I will say: I agree with the amount of familiarity between the 2 New York teams all being in the first 3 weeks, and all 3 teams, meaning Jets, Giants, Titans, all being relatively even in terms of talent and quality. I think it's an opportunity for the Titans to make a big statement early on. I think they have to win in week number 1. But here's an observation. The first thing that came to mind when I saw that first 4 games, I think it benefits the Titans and Robert Saleh's defensive front 7 to have to play against a Jalen Hurts quarterbacked offense, a Jackson Dart quarterback offense, and a Lamar Jackson quarterbacked offense in back-to-back-to-back weeks. They all have very similar skills on the ground as running quarterbacks. And I think getting to prepare for all three of them in order like that with some familiarity from week to week, it could be a major adjustment to go to Houston in the following game. And you have no idea. Geno Smith might be the worst starting quarterback in the NFL. So that one, to me, is off the table here in terms of a loss. But I like the fact that you are going to prepare most of training camp to some degree, looking at that first month, knowing the style of defense you're going to have to play against those three quarterbacks who all want to run the football like crazy. So I think that's interesting that those are outside of Jaden Daniels later on in week 13. I don't think there's a more mobile and more athletic quarterback than any of those three in back-to-back-to-back weeks early on.
Yeah, but I like, too, that in the first game you get a guy who's not as mobile and can maybe show off what you can really do against more of a containable guy, where, if this is the pass rushing unit that we think it can be, that it should be, that they should be able to get to him, and to maybe put up a number there that kind of sets a tone for what they can do in the season. Then it get harder for 3 weeks in a row because you have to contain more, and maybe worry about getting them to the ground less with those three guys that you're talking about who are pretty darn mobile.
Yep. Then you go, it also is one of only 2 times that the Titans will travel back-to-back weeks. In week 3 and 4, they go to the Giants and to Baltimore. Those are relatively easy flights from Nashville. The only other time is weeks 11 and 12, where they're going to go to Dallas and to Jacksonville. Again, also very manageable flights. I think they have one Mountain or Pacific time zone game the entire year. That is week. Yep. That is Christmas week, of course, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. The bye week comes dead in the middle of the season, which I think, generally speaking, is a good thing.
That's what you choose. I think that's what you choose.
I agree. And I think, look, I have them at 2. I have them beating the 2 New York teams, just purely out of like win one for the Gipper kind of situation. I then have them losing to Baltimore, Houston, and Indianapolis in back-to-back weeks. I like them beating Cleveland at home and losing to Cincinnati. So if you can get to that bye week, there's a chance that you are 3 and 4, 3 and 5, somewhere in there.
And you've already got a matching last season's win total.
There you go. So, but here's the thing. I think the bye week is placed perfectly, but I think there's a chance that Jacksonville, Dallas, Jacksonville, Washington, Detroit, Indianapolis stretch is by far the hardest of the season. Like that could be 5 straight playoff teams potentially, and then you finish with the Colts at home, which I think you can win. But I think 2 against Jacksonville in 3 weeks is hard. At Detroit, at Dallas mixed in there. Washington, you have no real clue what they are, but what they were 2 years ago, they're probably a far better football team. I just think that's a gnarly stretch, and I think it's a huge benefit that the bye week is coming right before that 5-game stretch.
See, I think that stretch is, you said mystery. I think it's filled with mystery. I don't think we have any idea what Jacksonville is. Are they the team that really kind of took off last year? They made all these weird draft picks. Does that stick? I think it's pretty good coach, questionable GM. Don't know what they are. I hate 2 games in 3 weeks. I think it should be banned from the allowable schedule formula. They did a nice job here splitting up the Houston rematch and splitting up the Indianapolis rematch. But you're playing, barring some big injury, you're playing the exact same team twice in 2 weeks. It's ridiculous. Not sure what Dallas is going to be. I think they'll be better defensively for sure. I mean, they've undergone a overhaul there. And Washington and Detroit are kind of the same team in that they were really good 2 years ago. Both went to the championship game and really fell off. Really good 2 years ago and really fell off last year.
Detroit didn't.
Which version of those teams are they?
Detroit did not fall off. They took a step back, but they were still very good. They just played. They played in. Detroit is a very good football team.
Not playoff caliber. Right. Lost 2 very good coordinators.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true.
And going through some big transition there. Also in a tough division where Chicago's really coming on, sure, where Green Bay's always a factor. Minnesota, I think, in for a tough year. Washington has more transition going on in that division. It's all really about Jaden Daniels and how he comes back and everything. But I'm not particularly scared I'm not talking as the Titans, I'm talking in general. I don't look at Washington and think like, oh, that's going to be a tough matchup for anybody this year. But
I'm just looking at this. I'm just, they're probably the weakest of the five games. But here's the thing, though. Like, if you look at this schedule, and we already knew the teams, right? So this is not revolutionary here. But of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, who are the best quarterbacks in it? No Mahomes, no Allen, no Stafford, no May, no Justin Herbert, no Caleb Williams. Those all could be top 10 guys. And the ones you do have on the schedule that could be elite players, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, and Jaden Daniels, all down years last year, all hurt last year. So you don't know exactly what you're going to face in those guys, because if you look at this team, they play two teams, PK, outside of the division that made the playoffs last year. Two teams. That's it. And so the question is, does Dallas get back? Does Washington get back? Does Detroit get back? Does Cincinnati get back? And does Baltimore get back? They're all good enough to be called playoff teams.
A lot of people around Cincinnati this year. I'm not falling for it. I've kept picking Cincinnati. I'm not going to be big on Cincinnati this year, but I won't be surprised if, look, a healthy season from Joe Burrow in a division where Pittsburgh's in transition, have never been in transition, and where Baltimore's in transition, never been in transition. Bodes Cleveland in transition, always been in transition.
Permanently.
Really bodes pretty well for Cincinnati. I mean, if Cincinnati's ever got a year that things have been favorable for the Bengals, this is it. So
I mean, they don't play. They play one top 10 quarterback until they play Cincinnati. Like, Jalen Hurts is a good player, not a top 10 quarterback. Nobody else on that. CJ Stroud, nice quarterback, not a top 10 quarterback.
Hurts can have a good game, but he's trending downward right now.
The quarterbacks that Robert Saleh's defense is going to face until potentially a healthy Burrow. And again, this is why I don't like this stretch. You go Burrow, Lawrence, Prescott, Lawrence, Daniels, Goff. That is the best stretch of quarterback.
And Lawrence is no guarantee. He's been so up and down. Had a good year last year. I'm more of a Lawrence fan than most people, but you don't know what you're going to get from Trevor Lawrence from one year to the next right now.
And again, even to the other games, what is Daniel Jones? Where's he at? Is Mendoza starting for the Raiders at the end of the season? Who's playing for the Steelers? Like, I think there's we knew all these names, so it's not like this is new information, but
it's a much softer schedule.
It's a much softer schedule.
But look, last year's schedule going in didn't look that hard, and it turned out to be an absolute killer.
Yeah.
Absolute killer. Like, not just the hardest schedule in the league, the hardest schedule the league has seen in a significant span of time. So you don't know what it's going to turn into, but they're certainly due for easier. The travel is easier. Only going west once, like you said, last year they were west a bunch. And so you don't know who's going to pop. One of these teams is due to pop. A Dallas is going to pop. A Detroit could come back big. I think you said that Houston's your Super Bowl team from the AFC at this point. I don't know if you're married to that.
I'm not married to it, but I really like the pick, though. I really do.
I think they're imbalanced, but I think they're a bitch to play.
Yeah, right.
So I can see where you're going there. And I think the AFC does not have, again, a standout team, which I like. I think it's more of an adventurous season.
It's got to be. I mean, Buffalo's going through a whole remake right now, but it feels like it should be Buffalo's, but we'll see. So is Kansas City to some degree, as well as Baltimore, Cincinnati. They're all kind of trying to figure it out, which is why I like Houston and their defense. As stable as that side of the ball will be and predictable as that side of the ball will be, it will be absolutely murderous to play against that team. And so if they can just average 21 points a game, like, they're going to win most weekends. So here's an interesting question from Ray Skull. He says, side question, when will the Titans stop being called a young, small market team? The franchise is an original AFL team, and they've been in Tennessee longer than the Ravens or Texans have existed. So I am not sitting here using the Texans, for example.
Well, Texans are not a small market team for start.
But I'm also not using the Texans as the brand that they just like, NFL executives aren't constantly picking the Texans over the Titans. It's bigger markets than that. But Houston is an enormous market, so that's one major difference. Nashville's still a small market, period. It's 700,000 people.
Houston might be the fourth biggest market in the country, right?
Right. It's huge. And Houston has had a football team for almost 80 years. There's been a football team in Houston other than a handful of years in there.
Yeah.
Baltimore also had a team for decades and decades and decades in the market, a huge market before the Ravens got there. And
here's a spot you don't get to use the Oilers part in your favor. That has nothing to do with anything. Pre-1997, really pre-1999, nothing counts for this team. And listen, the market's getting huge. It's not really about the market per se. It's about the invested market, I would call it. There's no lack of NFL fans here, but there is a what other market? I mean, this is a problem in Los Angeles. What other markets, though, have such a split loyalty? There are a high percentage of NFL fans in Nashville who are not Titans fans. A lot of us, I was in the first kind of round that came in 1997 for work. And then there was kind of a pause. And then there's been a steady, the faucet's been on with people coming from out of town, and people carry their allegiances.
Yep.
And if you came from Boston, you're a Patriots fan. If you came from New York, you're a Giants or Jets fan. If you came from Texas, you're a Cowboys fan. If you came from Wisconsin, the Bay Area, you're a 49ers or a Raiders fan. And those things don't go away. Now, maybe your kids will go the other direction if the team's good, but that's a 30-year thing. And we're just at the end of the first 30 years.
So I came here in as a ninth grade, as early young. I was like 14, and I brought my Packer fandom with me. And my children are now not 8 and 9 years old and are Packers fans. That we watch the Titans games and we keep an eye on the Titans games, but like they're not fans of the Titans. Now that's because I'm a Packers fan, but I've been here 30 years. Like I've been here a long time, and it's just not, again, the brand itself is just not, when you combine young fan base and small market, it's always going to be a hard, and oh, by the way, mostly bad football.
The question is your kids.
That's right.
Do the Packers level off where they don't have another couple Hall of Fame quarterbacks? And do the Titans play well enough where they're a couple Hall of Famers in the next 30 years and they win a Super Bowl? And is that enough then that your daughters, sons and daughters are attracted to the Titans more than they're attracted to your daughters? And do your daughters' affection for the Packers drift a little bit?
Sure.
And like Rexroad, he discouraged his son, Joe Rexroad, who's on 102.5 The Game. He discouraged his son from staying dedicated to the Lions, which is where he came from. And the kid wouldn't rip himself away. So you just don't know how those things go. But it takes, we're talking 30 years. That's a long history for the Titans. They've been in the building 27 years. Long history, yes. Just one generation, no.
It's not long. Yeah.
It's
not from a brand. Brands take decades to build. They take decades.
When you think of Braden's probably not the best example, but when you think of somebody who came from, well, I don't know how deep your roots were in Wisconsin. Maybe you are a good example if you had generations and generations stacked of Packer fandom.
Well, I can give you. So I moved here from Texas, but I was born in Madison, Wisconsin. My father was born in Madison, Wisconsin, and my grandfather was born in Madison, Wisconsin.
Yeah,
and we moved around a lot, but we are deeply entrenched in Packers sort of like history generationally in our family. Now, I agree with you. Here's the other thing, and I'm just thinking about this off the top of my head because like my friends' kids all live in, like we have tons of friends with kids that are my kids' age. I see more Mahomes jerseys in town than Cam Ward jerseys. The Mahomes, and I'm not suggesting that's not a knock on the
problem of parenting,
but that's not a knock on Titans or Titans fans or Cam Ward or any of that. He's a young player, he's only a rookie, but like young kids gravitate towards the greatest thing on earth. They just do. They wear Messi jerseys. They wear Ronaldo jerseys. Ronaldo's a piece of trash. I hate him, but they all know who Ronaldo is. That Mahomes transcends like who you root for when you're a kid, you may be a Titans fan and have a Mahomes jersey. And like you said, maybe that's bad parenting, but it just is what it is. Kids like what they like. And right now it's Allen, it's Mahomes, it's Lamar Jackson. It's these guys that are superstars. And the Titans have not had one of those guys. I mean, Derrick Henry was great, but he's not a quarterback.
Yeah. And look, I know a lot of people don't see a Super Bowl in their future. You never know. Teams break through and win periodically. And if the Titans did that, on the one hand, it would change everything. On the other hand, I've joked with people, if the Titans won a Super Bowl, if they lose opening day the next year, all the national media would go away immediately.
That's true. That's true. All right. So look, here's the deal. We'll wrap up this schedule conversation. The last question I have before we get to our final kind of record here, I'm not holding you to it. We're just going to kind of throw out a quick thought on the record now, looking at the schedule. Is it the right thing to do to have a non-division game? Pittsburgh's a big brand, a great brand. There's some history there between the Oilers and Steelers back in the day. I don't know if that matters. It's not the final week of the regular season. I'm really torn on the Nissan Stadium season finale, end of the line kind of game. There's really not a great chance that they're going to host a playoff game. So January 3rd on a Sunday against Pittsburgh, not the season finale, is going to be the last game in the history of this stadium. How do you feel about that being the final bell for that building?
I thought it should have been the last game, but I haven't talked to anybody over there, and they may have requested even an earlier ending to help them accelerate whatever they need to do over there. So
the systematic dismantling of the stadium.
Yeah, which has to be fast. So I don't know about that. I fully expected it would be a division game because I figured it would be the last week. If you were going to pick a team that wasn't a divisional opponent, the first one would have been
Baltimore
Ravens.
Yeah.
And I think the second one would have been Steelers. But that's kind of a testament to the Titans' failure to establish any real rivalries. I mean, who's the biggest rival outside of the division, outside of the Ravens? I probably would have said Steelers, but that's not about Nashville. That's about
Houston,
the franchise, right? That's about the AFC Central. Now, there's been a lot of buzz about the Titans will be out of it, and that'll be a Steelers invasion. I cannot imagine that this city, with 27 years of this stadium, does not turn out for that game, no matter the circumstances, to be sentimental about that building. And that people who have spent a lot of Sundays there wouldn't want to spend that last Sunday there. I can't imagine it, but maybe.
Forrest says, I'll be up in the nosebleeds with my wrench trying to take a piece of that steel fence off the top of the building. I bet you aren't the only one trying to get something out of that building that day.
Yeah, no, I would agree.
And in fact, I told this to Burke Nihil. I was like, dude, you need to charge people for money, for charity. Charge people to come in and demolish the dollhouses. Like, people would come and, like, you know how they'll get those rage rooms, right, where you take a sledgehammer and you just break shit. If you charged $100 for me to go in there for 30 minutes and just take a sledgehammer and break some stuff up, I would love to do that. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that would love to do that.
Especially if they lose.
Well, and you could take a little piece with you, right? You smash up the dollhouse, take a piece with you. If the Titans don't win at least 3 of their first 8 games, then they're likely going to lose 7 of their last 8. Greer Stadium was packed for the last game. Surely people show up for this last game, Josh. I agree. I think your point, PK, is valid. This should be a hard sellout in that game, last one ever. Honestly, does anyone remember the Oilers' last game in the Astrodome? No one will remember. It's about the Titans. So, that's true. Outside of the AFC South, I care more about beating the Ravens. The Patriots, I think that's probably that rivalry will build, PK, I think, over time. Bills
native too, so it's personal to him.
Well, it's about Vrabel to me.
Bills
straight
than
up.
Any other team.
All right, here's the deal. I've got them beating the Jets and the Giants and the Browns. All right, I've got them beating the Commanders at home and the Colts at home and the Steelers at home in their season finale. I don't know about the Vegas game, but that is the game I'm deciding between 6 and 7 wins. It's hard for me to get past 7. So I'm probably in the 7 and 10, 6 and 11 range right now looking at the schedule now that it's out for the first time.
If they can't win 6 games against this schedule, I mean, this raised the floor. I think they've done a lot of work to raise the floor. If they can't, with a higher floor, find 6 wins against this schedule, with the Jets on it, with the Giants on it, with Cleveland on it, with the Colts, who I don't think are going to be very good on it, with teams with uncertainty like Washington on it, with Las Vegas on it. There's 6 games to be won on here.
Yep.
To me, six is the floor. for a team with a raised floor. So if they don't win 6, I think it's really bad. If they win 6, I think that's like the minimum for me.
I have them at 7-10 with wins over Vegas, Pittsburgh, and Indianapolis. But I think the most important part of this is after that really difficult stretch, I have them losing twice to Jacksonville and to Dallas, and I have them losing to Detroit. But you could finish 4-2 down the stretch because to your point, you got Washington, Indianapolis, Pittsburgh at home. Vegas is a bad football team potentially on the road. If you can win those 4, lose to Detroit, lose to Houston, maybe, I think it's about how you feel coming out of the season. A lot of tough games in the middle there relative to their talent. But if they can win down the stretch and maybe finish 4-2 down the stretch with a couple of wins in there over a team like the Colts or the Steelers to end the season to feel good, I do think that is 7-10 with 4 wins in the final 6 weeks. I assume like this first season, Cam Ward is playing better by the end of the year. The rookies have developed and are playing better by the end of the year. They get through that middle stretch there, weeks 10 through 14, and they can win some games at the end. I think that's how you sell progress in a really big way. And I think 7-10 with wins at the end of the year would be a huge. I think that would be a huge step forward.
I think the thing too, if things go reasonably well, the kind of thing that gets a season over the edge. I'm not saying like to the playoffs, but like then you got to win 1 of the 4 against Houston and Jacksonville, right? If those are the 2 prime teams in your division and they're as good as expected, then what you have to do is like, hey, you're in our division and we play division teams tough and we're going to surprise and pick one of those games off. And it's not just going to be because Houston isn't playing for playoff position in week 18. Like we're legitimately going to surprise one of those teams during the course of the season.
Do you know, this is a really good trivia question from Ed Henry. What was the last, who were the starting quarterbacks in the final game at the Astrodome, Oilers and Bengals? Do you know?
Well, it was either Steve McNair or Chris Chandler. I'm going to think it was McNair. I'm going to say
Chris Chandler had 29 pass attempts in that game. McNair had 10.
Jeff Blake,
you got it, man. Nice job. Well, you got all 3 of them. You win. What'd you cover? Have you been on the beat for 30 years, PK? All right. So appreciate all you guys playing our schedule game there. First of many. I think 6 or 7 wins is absolutely doable. I think 7 with some success down the stretch is all the good feels you need kind of moving forward. All right.
They won 7. So we were talking about if they won just for a second on draft position. And I think you and I talked about this last week.
Yep. 6 wins was 8th place in the draft, was the Saints, I believe. They picked 8th in the draft and they had 6 wins.
So 7 probably gets them
11.
And you don't know what one year does to the next, but 7 probably gets them like 12, maybe 13, 14. So
yeah, it depends. All right. Sinkers Beverages, make sure you support good local journalism, paulkuharsky.com. Fill out our survey, of course. It's in the show notes, both on the podcast and on YouTube. And if you need a beverage like this really delicious Weller Antique 107, which is a special Sinkers barrel selection, it's one of the most delicious bourbons you'll ever try.
Take a swig of that for the people.
No, I will not. No,
for the
I will
people.
not.
Everyone message that you want him to take. There you go. No, that was close. Open it.
You almost had it.
Open it. Come
Absolutely not.
Why wouldn't you?
143. Well, I'm about to celebrate with the I got to watch my Gunners here in a few minutes. So.
Why wouldn't you take a swig, a pregame swig?
A pregame swig. Chug it? No, this is expensive, delicious bourbon.
Oh.
This is delicious. Look at that.
If it's delicious, why wouldn't you have some right now?
Because I don't drink straight bourbon at 1:45 on a Monday.
There you do,
Paul.
In advance of your team playing and to honor these people who are watching.
Chug it.
Come on.
Maybe in a minute. Maybe in a minute.
Cheers.
Maybe in a minute. Here. I got all the other kinds of stuff over here.
Oh, that doesn't do anything.
I got coffee and water. Yeah, this is exactly right. Thank you, Forrest. Because he doesn't have much left and he doesn't. That's right. I only have. This is for
special occasion, like with us right now. That's the kind of special occasion you need.
Special occasions. All right. Titans between 7 and 9 wins, says MB. Yeah, there you go.
Still very broad. Yeah, to say 7
or
9, like you could have a 2-game gap, but you can't have a 2-game gap where one's under 500 and one's over 500. That's an unfair 2-game gap.
Why not?
Because it's lame. Because one's a losing season and one's a winning season. So you're saying they could have a losing season or they could have a winning season.
Right, but I would argue 7 and 10 and 9 and 8 are identical seasons in the NFL, basically.
No,
that's the difference. No, that's 2 plays, maybe 4 at the most.
Are they
games are decided on the.
I want you to tell me, are they making them or are they not making them?
Games are decided on the margins, boys. Games are decided.
This is why you predict.
Here we go. How many wins for Dayball to be gone? If they win more than 6, Cam Ward's better, the offense is better, he's out of here?
I don't think he's out of here. It's 6.
Okay, that's fair. All right.
But maybe.
Okay, all right. Titans broadcast radio crew. Taylor Zarzer and Ramon Foster is the new broadcast. Now, first and foremost, I will say,
what a scoop,
that it is really, really, really hard for any human to be responsible for filling the shoes of a Mike Keith, Coach Mac Booth. All right. I think it is, you got to start there with, it is an unenviable task. No matter how good you are and no matter how long you've been around this game, that is as good a local radio booth as you will ever get in modern professional sports. So I hope Titans fans have appreciated what they had, because that was a special pairing for many years. I think that needs to be said. And it is not fair to hold anyone to the standard that those two set. Just got to get that out of the way first. All right.
Now go ahead and bash it.
No, no. You said sold out, I think, in your story about Ramon. Sold out the fan base, or did something like that about how they didn't go get an alumni, right? They didn't go get a Titan.
I think they dishonored.
Dishonored.
Fan base. I don't know if I used that either, but they dishonored the alumni for sure. This was non-extensive search where they talked to a whole bunch of guys. They talked to either no one or virtually no one except Ramon Foster.
He was their first. He was their first choice, is what you're reporting.
Pretty much, yeah. With no effort to explore. When they found Dave McGinnis, they turned over every stone. They threw up every name they could think of on the board. They knew how hard it was going to be to replace Wycheck, and they knew they needed to find somebody special and different. And if no player was obvious to them, there was no obvious heir, they needed to really, come up with something. And God bless them, they came up with Coach Mack, and that was a raging success. When they replaced Pat Ryan, why did they replace Pat Ryan? They wanted to get a Titan in the booth. They felt like they needed to get a Titan in the booth. So, and Pat Ryan wasn't Titany enough. He was a Vol. And so what they do? They replace now McGinnis with somebody who's even less of a Titan than Pat Ryan was, because he's got an 11-year marriage with a Titans rival. Look, Ramon Foster's not that good at the job. Hey, I mean, I heard him come on the Vols. I heard him come on the Vols, and I got a lot of report from Vols fans that he wasn't that good. He's not good on his radio show at all. It's a miserable, terrible show. I'll say it outright. It's an unlistenable show.
What do you really think?
He doesn't really understand how media works, which is, I think, a necessity of that, because guess what? He's going to get criticized some in this, and he's going to cry about it because he doesn't understand how to handle it. And look, I don't care that he's not a Titan. I think it's a homerish job, and I can't stand the homerish end of it. And he'll be homerish. The number one reason he got this job is because he's going to do exactly what they tell him to do, because he's a pushover. But get a damn guy who's worn light blue to be your pushover.
That's my complaint. That's my complaint is, and I know you talked to Taylor Lewan about this, that he might have been interested in that. I don't know if he's the right guy for the job, but man, the personality is big. I had a lot of Titans people, not like in the building, but like folks that have been longtime season ticket holders that spend a lot of money with this organization, just suggesting a lot of different names.
None of them were Ramon Foster.
And none of them were Ramon Foster. I think I think both of them deserve the opportunity to see this thing through and see how they do. I don't listen to the radio broadcast. I just don't. But
I do when it times up, and they're working on this, and maybe it'll happen again. It used to happen when it timed up with a home game. It's a great way to get some extra about what's going on. It's
extra color,
second set of eyes.
Mark Mariani, what about him?
Mark Mariani could wind up being the sideline reporter. I think there are a couple of guys who are in the mix for a sideline reporter who are Titans, and who I think they're going to say, see, there is a Titan, but there is a Titan, the sideline reporter, a job that last year we considered so insignificant that we gave it to two people who weren't worthy of it, and we split it home on the road. Last year we didn't think anything of it, and now we're going to give it to a former Titan simply to offset the fact that Ramon Foster is the color analyst.
I mean, I think Mariani would have been good in the booth. Like, I think he would have been good as the play-by-play or the color guy
in the booth. I mean, I'd like a guy in the booth that's been ideally a quarterback or a lineman who could tell me more about the intricacies of those.
That's true.
Things.
That's true.
I think Mark would have been fine.
Keith Bullock, you said, expressed interest in the job.
He definitely. I did a video where I didn't mention him, quite frankly, because I thought the job was below him. I don't know if they could afford Keith Bullock, and I didn't know that Keith Bullock would be willing to give up 20 weekends out of what I think is a pretty. I perceive, tell me if you don't, like he's got a pretty good lifestyle. Like he can come and go.
Oh yeah.
You know, if there's a fight or something or a big playoff basketball game, you see Keith there once in a while. You give that up if you become the Titans radio guy. So I think Keith, I feel like he's too big a star for that.
I don't think it's about being the star. It's about sort of what do you want in life. And if you were sort of like, I'm really happy where I am, then why would you do that? That being said, here's like, it felt like Mike Keith. So it almost feels like a different strategy to me, PK. Like the strategy behind Mike Keith and Coach Mack, intentionally or otherwise, especially with Keith, was this is a full-time ambassadorship. Like you are on the team all the way, and this is something you believe in as much as we do. And I think that translated. Now, Keith was very good at that, and so I think that translated into being like the best possible ambassador you could ever possibly be in the community. And I've known Taylor Zarzour for a long time. He will claim that he's from Nashville. He's lived here for like 6 months, like 20 years ago. But that is not the guy you go get if you want a full-time ambassador to the thing. He does golf. He loves the Masters. He calls college football games on Saturday. He is doing other things, and good on him for doing that. But he does other things. This is not his only baby. And Ramon has a full-time other baby as well. So you could have gone and hired people and said, no, we want you to do nothing else but this. And that's hard to do. But at the same time, it feels like they went out and got two guys that are doing this sort of like a third of the time or half the time or 3/4 of the time. And that's okay too. It's just a very different strategy. And I'm not saying I know the right strategy, but it feels like a different strategy to me. You didn't get a Titan as your color guy, and you got a guy who calls a bunch of other stuff every single week throughout the course of the NFL season.
And I mean, they have guys who do some media with some success. Jason McCourty would have been my first choice. Now,
I think he's too big. I think he's too big of a star.
You would have had to really knock his socks off to get him to move back and to do it. But he's also on, and maybe his life is perfect now with these alternate broadcasts. Where he's like the extra crew on CBS. Logan Ryan, I think, would have been really good.
Logan Ryan
Hopkins is where I thought they would have wound up, and he's got a lot of media experience. There are more guys. But,
Kevin Byard would be a great color analyst one day. He would be outstanding.
Lawan was a little bit joking when I talked to him, but not that much. Funny. Gives it to me. I tweet it out, and then he tweets out that he confirms the quote that he like he still don't get how this works. Like,
no, I think he does.
Confirm it when you give it to me, and I put it in.
I think he's messing with you, dude. I'm curious how the old guard though would respond to Lawan's like the bussin' audience, the way they talk to Gen Z males. That's not how Coach Mack talked to people.
Oh no, it would have been completely different. But it would
maybe you want that. Maybe you want a young approach.
But also, he would have been too honest, and they don't want somebody honest.
That's true. That's true.
They don't. They want to. Delaney Walker. I have to be honest. Like he speaks very informal English. He speaks very informal English. I don't think you could put him on the radio full time.
I mean, you'd work on it.
Thing to say?
You'd polish it up and work on it. I think I would argue that Coach Mack speaks informal English, but it's all about do you know ball? And if you know ball and can translate your personality through that, I think
somebody else bringing up Jarrell Casey.
He's good.
I think, like, why not talk to a guy like that?
Yeah.
Why not talk to all these people?
You're saying they did not interview anybody else.
What's the hurry? I have talked to many of these people who say that they have
just Mason Kinsey, guys.
Mason Kinsey, get him on the practice squad. I talked to a lot of these people who say they've had no contact. And my original source made it sound like that Ramon Foster was their choice from before Coach Mack was even gone.
Ramon Foster is I will say I think he's a like an easy talker, I think, and I think there's a like an easiness to how he communicates, but I don't know if that translates during broadcasts. Like, I don't know what that's going to be like during broadcasts. I have not heard anything from the Tennessee Vols year or 2 years that he's been doing it. How long he's been doing it?
1 year.
1 year, that's right. And so, everybody needs polish doing this stuff, so we'll see what happens. Let me ask you quickly a media question before we get to the Super Bowl of it all, which we'll probably cover a lot more on Thursday if and when the announcement has already been made that the February of 2030 Super Bowl is coming to Nashville and Nissan Stadium. Should be voted on here in the next 2 days or so and become official at some point. I want you to quickly, I don't want you to go long here, but just quickly give me how you decide if this is a thing you should break or not. You tell me.
What, the Ramon thing?
Yeah.
Learn news, share with the people. Find news and share it.
Find news, write news.
I know some people have think that there's like certain news I get that I would hold for certain. If I learn something that is reportable, that is news about the Tennessee Titans, I report it. Like,
it doesn't matter what it is.
Huh?
Yeah. It doesn't matter what it is. You report it. Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's a rare occasion where it's super sensitive, where it might like hurt somebody's family or something. I can't think of an example. Like, I want people to know generally that it's coming. If it's somehow hurtful or
would it be like maybe like this is going to sound crazy, but I guess you did know Frank relatively well. Like maybe some sort of diagnosis with some player or somebody where I knew
Coach Mack was ill, but I didn't have it reportable, and I didn't seek to get it reportable. I didn't think it was important that people knew that Coach Mack was sick. It's not people's business to know that Coach Mack is sick if Coach Mack doesn't want it out, and I presumed he didn't want it out. But I think I broke that Frank died, but I wasn't pressing to get that Frank died. Like, I was in communication with the family, because I was friendly with Frank. But embarrassing things, I would give a heads up to somebody that they know it's coming. Blake Bedingfield, 5 weeks ago told a story about Corey Davis getting drafted, and it made John Robinson look bad. And I sent John Robinson a text. Hey, I know you're probably not going to want to comment on this, but I wanted you to know Blake said this, and it's going to come out, and you may hear about it or whatever. This story I sent, 2 different PR people on 2 different levels of the organization, just as I was publishing the story. Hey, I'm writing that Ramon got the job. So they have a little bit of lead time, or they could go to their bosses and say, hey, Kuharsky's got the Ramon story. It's coming out right now, as a courtesy. If I knew Ramon better, I might have, done him the courtesy to tell him that. I don't know him well, so I don't feel an obligation to tell him. He'll see it like everybody else does. Yes. But the idea that I would have held that back for somebody else, I could say this. I know other people, like people were saying I would have held it back for Hutton. First off, Hutton isn't up for the color job. Second, Hutton aren't close anymore. But thirdly, if Hutton was getting it, they would have organized it in a way that the information wouldn't have been available to me.
Probably.
If they wanted it not out.
Probably. All right. I just wanted to give you a second there to talk about that. And if you care about the ethics and quality of good local journalism, like generally Paul does. So much so that I think he teaches a class on it at a local university. If you care about that stuff, fill out the survey linked in the show notes. Press forward midtn.news, midtn.news. It is a way for you to help the media in this city better organize and prioritize resources and help them get some funding as well. So please take some time, less than 5 minutes, fill out the survey. Sinkers Beverages, of course, make sure you go pick up delicious bourbons that you can drink in the evening.
But not on this show.
During happy hour
for that.
Later in life. If I had one of the cheaper ones like within reach, I probably would have done it, man. But like
good.
This is
too good for us.
It is. It's too good for you. You wouldn't appreciate it.
I don't want it. I want you to have it.
You're so kind. Last but not least here. So the Super Bowl is going to be announced, or they're going to vote on the Super Bowl over the next 2 days, Tuesday and Wednesday, down in Orlando at these meetings. And I have basically on my local news show, I confirmed the Dan Patrick Report 2 weeks ago that every important member of the state who's in charge of this stuff has already been told, and that this is coming in February of 2030. They have to officially vote on it, of course, which I feel like is a formality at this point. But we're going to spend a lot of time.
2/3 of the league have to say yes.
Okay. I want to preview this because I was going to talk a lot about this today on the show, but I think it's really, really interesting. The value of a Super Bowl to our market is way worse than anybody realizes. But the deal to get the stadium here is actually way better than talking points and what anybody realizes. So I really want to dive in with Suss on this on Thursday after the potential vote to give us the Super Bowl. That the economic impact that is sold to people about a Super Bowl coming is not nearly as good as you think it is, as people think it is. There's a list of hundreds of demands by the NFL when it comes to security and hotel rooms and transportation and buses and limousines and parking spaces and all this stuff, and they demand all of that free of charge. The actual local economy does not nearly benefit as much. I've got a lot of information about this. I talked to some of the people in the mayor's office in the last 2 administrations. We're going to break that down coming up on Thursday. But the deal itself to get the stadium done, PK, I still think a lot of people who, including the current mayor who voted against it, will say, oh, it's the most publicly funded stadium in the history of the NFL. And while there's a technicality that makes that true, the deal itself to build the building and to create year-round entertainment district down there is so much better for the city than I think the talking points indicate around the money and the dollars of it all. So we're going to spend a little bit more time on it, but I want to give you a quick that's kind of the setup of the conversation. And if you have any thoughts about the Super Bowl coming before it gets announced or voted on, please by all means.
Well, I just do think I am on the side of the economic impact of such an event being overblown for a city, because what they like to do is pretend like that downtown Nashville would be an absolute ghost town for that week.
Right.
Okay. So here's Nashville without a person in it for that week. No, we're going to solve that, and we're going to bring the Super Bowl and put it in here and look at the incredible economic impact. Well, if the Super Bowl wasn't there that week, there would still be a couple concerts, a couple hockey games, and a regular amount of
tourism,
downtown tourism life.
Yeah.
And they forget to include that where they start telling you the economic impact. And also, we're going to spend a lot of money, not as much as some cities, but a lot of money to get some things up to things. People have given up far too much and give up far too much power. Watch this summer what FIFA does and how they take over cities. The Super Bowl is short of that, but not by that much in terms of the power. There's $1 billion industry that will have volunteers, and old people in Nashville will sign up to eagerly volunteer for the NFL in order to get a shirt or a sash or a badge or a pin, which is absolutely ridiculous when they should be making $25 an hour from the richest league in the world. Is it the richest league in the world or the second?
It's the richest
in the world to the EPL.
It's the richest league in the United States. That's for sure.
So, I mean, there's a scam element to the whole thing that we just accept. Like it's some honor to go work. Like, is it an honor to go work for Amazon or Tesla? Or, it's just
those are two interesting. Those are two interesting choices.
I was just trying to think of the richest people I could think of.
You nailed it. Yeah. You nailed it. Well, again, like just going back to the kind of the parallels of the conversation around the cost of the stadium and building it and why we decided to build it, which I find very interesting, compared to the economic impact / value of a Super Bowl. Two quick things. First of all, the value of the Super Bowl is far overblown from a dollar standpoint, but it's not overblown from sort of cachet, brand image, happiness standpoint. Like it's really interesting. You look at studies of cities and communities that have hosted Super Bowls and technically things like the World Cup, and the happiness value that it just skyrockets in those markets. The brand exposure of the cities skyrocket. You could also argue Nashville doesn't need as much help with that particular element of this, like building the brand. And so there is going to be, you reach a certain level as a city and you have the opportunity to host a Super Bowl. No one says no. You don't say no. You do it because eventually it is worth it. And the sort of knock-on effect of having pro sports in this city, while maybe not quantifiable directly, is part of the reason we have grown into what we have become. And there's plenty of you listening that maybe hear me say that and go, well, it's too expensive to live here and we don't have houses and we got transportation problems and blah, 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 blah. And that's all true. But the city has grown because there's only two types of cities that are growing and cities that are dying. And you don't want to be the one that's dying. And we're growing in part because we have professional sports. And the next logical step is something like a Super Bowl. But the deal that gets knocked a lot that built the stadium, for example, $500 in state money is counted as taxpayer dollars. Do you happen to know $500 million in state money? That is technically our tax dollars, but none of it's Metro dollars, not one penny of it. And the amount of sales tax that we are paying, or the amount of taxes that Nashvillians are paying into that $500 million, is proportionate to the entire state, 9 million people. And so the question, do you know how big the budget was? Governor Lee's budget that just got approved by the Tennessee General Assembly a couple of weeks ago. Do you have any idea how big it was?
No.
$58 billion is how much our state budget is every year. That is $500 million. That was a lump sum payment, I believe, to the Titans, is less than 1% of the budget. Less than 1% of the budget that we paid to help build the stadium on a state level. So I'm just saying the deal is so much better than people realize, and the Super Bowl is not nearly as valuable as people realize.
What's just to wrap my wrapping question? So that the tax on stuff around the stadium is a big financer of this to pay things off. So what's it going to cost me when this neighborhood is built? Well, first off, why is somebody going to want to have a place there knowing rents are going to be expensive and knowing their product is going to be more expensive with this tax on it? And what am I going to pay for, say, a cheesesteak, a quarter mile away from the stadium in a fancy thing that they envision as Wrigleyville?
I mean, I would say just go downtown and go eat a meal in downtown, like near downtown Broadway, maybe in 5th and Broad or whatever, at the higher levels, not the food court or whatever, but go up. And there's about a 25% tax on steaks and burgers and drinks and everything. Like I'm ballparking it here. So a $40 filet in Green Hills is actually $55 at whatever that 1230 is. It 1230 Club or whatever the thing is on the top, whatever that is. And so I think you're absolutely going to pay extra. You're going to pay extra dollars for that kind of stuff. Now, one of the first buildings that's going to break ground that has to be kind of finished before the Super Bowl is the affordable housing block that's technically across Korean Veterans Boulevard. It's across the street from the Exxon on the other side. That's going to be the affordable housing with over 1,000 units, I think 1,200 units of affordable housing. So there is going to be a ton of money that is already earmarked for infrastructure as part of the deal, meaning like parks and sewers and water and roads and electricity and everything else. And so the area has a built-in revenue stream to keep it really nice. And so that's going to increase cost, but it should increase experience as well, right? You're going to have a nice experience down around there. How many units of people can live down there? I have no, that's going to be, It's supposed to be in the thousands, condos, apartments, and affordable housing units. We'll see what actually happens. The scrapyard getting developed is going to be another huge part of this, because the scrapyard is going to have like 14 towers on it, and it's going to be a bunch of housing and hotels and parks as well. So, but here's the deal: $840 million paid by NFL / Amy Adams Strunk, $500 million paid by the state, less than 1% of the state's budget that year. We saved $60 million in forgiveness debt. We would have been on the hook for over $1 billion renovation. City's not on the hook for that anymore, and $700 million in revenue bonds that they don't exist without the stadium. You cannot capture sales tax around a building that doesn't exist. So it's all found money to some degree, with the exception of the hotel motel tax. So the deal, very good for the city, but it shouldn't be packaged inside of to get a Super Bowl, because the to get a Super Bowl thing is more about vibes. It's more about feelings. It's more about our brand and feeling good about ourselves and showing the world that we can do this thing, rather than, oh yeah, it's going to be $180 million in economic impact or $300 million in economic impact. That's not really what's going to happen.
Well, and there's also actually, for a Titans fan in Nashville, there's actually a little bit of downside to it, in that if the building shows well, and the building's going to show well, it's another advertisement for, hey, this is a great place to come watch your team play, and competition for tickets, and 8,000 fewer tickets than there were at the old stadium.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yes, Jordan, this is through most of my work on PBN. If you want to listen to Podbus Nashville and hear about all this stuff, almost every episode, go check us out on another episode. Okay, that about does it. We'll dive way into the details of this, because I'm starting to get a picture of what the NFL is going to ask of Nashville, and what they are going to ask for free of Nashville, and what we have to spend and what we have to do to have the Super Bowl. I'm not saying we shouldn't do it. I want the Super Bowl here, but we just got to make sure we know what we're doing when we do it. That's all. And we'll talk about it on Thursday, hopefully after it's been voted on.
Will you get credentialed for the Super Bowl?
I mean, I hope so. I've been to one Super Bowl as a fan, and
for the game.
I went to one Super Bowl as a fan, and the team I watched came up 1 yard short. I was in line with NSYNC to get Dippin' Dots with my little brother, actually.
Wow.
It was weird. Justin Timberlake was standing in front of me. It was very strange. And I was in peak Justin Timberlake NSYNC listening, senior in high school. I had to have the NSYNC CD in the car for the girlfriend at the time.
Can I tell my concert story real quick?
Yeah, go for it.
We're going over.
Sinkers Beverages, let's go.
I went to see Treaty Oak Revival with my son. I was fortunate to be in a box. These guys, now you don't get a share of concessions. I looked this up. So if you're playing a place like Bridgestone is making the concessions money, not the band. They have a thing that their fans throw beers in the air, particularly for one song. Now, what's a beer at Bridgestone?
14, 16, $18.
14, 16, $18. So if you're going to spend $100 on beer at Treaty Oak Revival, you're spending $200 on beer, because particularly during this one song, but throughout, there's not a moment during the concert where there's not at least one beer in the air. All right. I'm in a suite barely exposed from an overhang, and I caught some beer spritz. But during the one song, my kid warned me, hey, this is the one. And I went back under, and the entire place for the entire song has beers in the air. And I'm just fascinated. I would book these guys for my arena, because you had to have made twice or 3 times the concession price that you make for any other show, because people are spending $18 in order to throw a full beer onto their friends. There's unbelievable revenue for this show. Unbelievable. How they made this their thing, I don't know. But they've got to be the most popular act on tour in terms of concession revenue.
I'm trying to think of a way, like we need a segment on a football show where we all have to like pour bourbon out or something, and we could drive up bourbon sales at Sinkers. Is that what we're trying to do here?
Look, I mean, I ducked for cover, but I was trying to picture my dad at 57 taking me at 16 to a show where beers were flying constantly, and this is just not in my dad's constitution.
I'm trying to think.
The generation gaps, I think, are closing a little bit.
Oh yeah,
between parents.
Yeah, my daughter looked.
So thing, I think.
Friday, my wife was like, "I really want a margarita," so I went to Sinkers. This is a great way to end it, by the way. I go to Sinkers. I get a little bag of this filthy margarita mix. That's the brand. It's called Filthy. It's very good. It's good for you, ish. Yeah, sure. And she really wanted a margarita, so I was like, "I got you covered. I'll go pick it up for you." I mixed it all up, and we're sitting there on the back porch, like just kind of hanging out as a family. And maybe this is the generational thing where my wife, out of the blue, looks at my 9-year-old because like we don't drink a lot at the house, but like, Friday nights or summertime, like, and I think she said something like, well, what is that? What is that, Mom? Like, what do you have? And she's like, it's a margarita. And my wife goes, I think you would really like a margarita when you get older. like it was just such a casual thing to say, like, yes, you should drink, honey. Like,
they don't drink a lot at the Gall household. That's why that Weller's bottle is so full.
PK, this has been here a long time. And there's evidence. Actually, there might be evidence on a football show where you could see how long it's taken this bottle to go. It's taken a good 6-8 months here. So,
sure.
In my peak COVID days, that'd take like a week and a half. All right, Super Bowl's coming. The new broadcast team is set, and of course, schedule is out. 17-0. Let's go. PaulKuharsky.com. Sign up for good journalism. Go to Sinkers Beverages, and of course, always make sure you fill out that survey in the show notes to help us out as well. I think that just about does it for us, PK. Come on, you Gunners. Go get a W. For Paul, I'm Braden. Thanks for listening. Thanks for hanging out. We'll talk to you next time.
See you.